Remember to leave your thoughts below, share with friends, and follow our channel for more compelling stories like this one. Never would I have imagined ending up in such circumstances, yet there I stood. As my property manager's footsteps echoed through the corridor, a sobering realization washed over me like a heavy rain. The truth was undeniable. I had exhausted all possibilities. 90 days had passed since my last payment, and I was hopelessly behind on my apartment fees. I possessed neither funds nor connections to assist me. The quiet aftermath felt suffocating, and I recognized in that instant I was completely trapped. Then, as if by some twist of fate, he presented me with an unexpected proposition, a suggestion I should have immediately rejected. Yet for reasons beyond my comprehension, I entertained the idea, despite every internal alarm urging me to retreat. Before continuing, may I request a small gesture? If you are enjoying this narrative, please take a moment to show support by following and sharing. It requires only a second but significantly helps this channel expand. Your encouragement means everything, and I'm truly grateful. Now, let's resume. The sudden pounding at the entrance made me jump. My housecoat had loosened, exposing my leg, but I was too exhausted to be concerned. I barely registered the slight discomfort I felt, my thoughts consumed by the gravity of my situation. The door hinges creaked as it opened, revealing Mr. Richardson standing there. He lingered at the threshold, his eyes moving across me with an unsettling deliberateness. It felt calculated, intentional. "Sophia," he began, his tone measured, "you're 3 months delinquent on your apartment fees." I tightened the garment around myself, attempting to shield my body from the weight of his statement. "I understand, Mr. Richardson," I replied softly. I need additional time." He offered a small, almost sympathetic smile, but I recognized that whatever he might propose would come with significant consequences. His gaze remained steady, and the silence between us felt dense, oppressive. "It's unfortunate," he murmured, his voice smooth and rich like melted chocolate. "A woman such as yourself should never find herself in such circumstances." His words seemed to glide over me, leaving trails of warmth across my skin. The sound of his voice, so gentle yet laden with something unspoken, made my pulse quicken. Despite myself, with a quiet exhalation, I dropped my shoulders. He was clearly considering his options, contemplating his next move, each moment stretching endlessly. "Time alone won't erase the debt, my dear," he finally stated, his voice low and deliberate. I had tried everything: extra work shifts, borrowing money, reducing expenses. Nothing had succeeded. "Please," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "Just a little more time." His eyes locked with mine, unwavering, as if evaluating something deeper. Perhaps there's another solution," he suggested quietly. The knot in my stomach tightened painfully, my heart beginning to race for reasons I couldn't fully comprehend. I swallowed hard. "What do you mean?" He smiled, his lips curving slightly. "Oh, Sophia, surely you understand my meaning." His voice seemed to grow softer, the room shrinking around us, the space between us narrowing with each word. His presence was overwhelming, suffocating in the most disquieting way. "No one needs to know," he whispered, his words nearly drowned by the pounding of my heart. Just between us, I felt his gaze upon me, sharp and keen as he observed every subtle change in my expression, every hesitation. The thought of escaping, of finding some way out, was nowhere to be found. I was caught in a web I had no idea how to untangle. "Your problems," he said, his voice like an enchantment, "they can all vanish right here, right now." A breath I hadn't realized I was holding escaped in a soft, tremulous exhale. There was no escape. The weight of his offer hung in the air, and I knew in that moment I had no other choice. Slowly, with a reluctance I could barely name, I nodded my head, barely tilting in agreement. His smile deepened, his eyes gleaming with triumph. Without another word, he reached out and with a steady hand gripped the belt of my robe. "Well done, "My dear," he said, his voice full of satisfaction. Mr. Richardson guided me into the bedroom, his hold firm but unhurried. The air between us thickened, heavy with unspoken tension. As we crossed the threshold, the scent of his cologne mixed with something darker, something more primal, and I felt it all around me, suffocating me. He wasted no time. As we reached the edge of the bed, he unfastened his belt, the sharp sound of metal ringing out in the silence. It was a sound that resonated deep within me, sending a shiver down my spine. "You know what follows, don't you, darling?" His voice was low, filled with a dangerous promise. I couldn't speak. A lump formed in my throat, and I clenched my hands into fists at my sides. His lips twisted into a smile that was both amused and commanding. "Don't appear so surprised, Sophia," he teased. "You consented, remember?" A jolt of nervous energy shot through me, and I could feel the heat rising between us, the tension crackling in the air. Each movement he made was deliberate, every breath charged with something unspoken, something both electrifying and terrifying. As he leaned closer, enveloping me in his warmth, his scent wrapped around me, and I found myself pressed against him. The space between us non-existent. With deliberate slowness, I closed my eyes and pressed my lips to his, the sensation sending a shudder through me. He breathed out sharply, his fingers tightening, pulling me closer as his lips moved with an intensity I hadn't anticipated. In that moment, I lost myself to the sensations, my pulse racing as the world around me seemed to disappear. It was unexpected, yet I found myself drawn to it. His breath grew deeper, his stance tightening. He was becoming enveloped in me. A peculiar feeling of control awakened within me. Just as I discovered my rhythm, he suddenly withdrew. His breath came in ragged gasps. He was on the verge of losing control. "Move above me," he urged, his voice heavy with desire. I complied, rising and positioning myself on the bed, my robe parting as I settled over him. His hand swiftly sought out my thighs, gliding over my skin, squeezing as though he craved to experience every inch of me. "That's it," he whispered, his gaze fixed intently on mine. I leaned closer, positioning myself beside him. A sudden breath caught in my throat as I descended upon him. He let out a low groan, his fingers digging into my hips. "You exceed my expectations in ways I never imagined." I dismissed the warmth that blossomed within me at his words. This was merely a transaction. Yet as I began to shift, a profound wave of pleasure coursed through my being. My body turned against me, reacting with fervor, yearning for more. I bit my lip, maintaining a facade of neutrality, yet within me a heat coiled, a slow burn unfurling with each subtle movement. "Continue, Sophia. Take me for a journey as if you truly desire to." His voice carried tension, his hold steady as he led me forward. I followed his instructions, my movements hastening, my breath becoming erratic. Every motion unleashed a fresh surge of feeling within me, blurring the lines of my pretense that I wasn't enjoying this experience. He wore a smirk, gazing up at me as though he could see through the facade I had put on. "You're enjoying this?" he whispered. "No," I lied, my breath catching as I quickened my pace. His hold grew firmer, his form elevating to align with mine in perfect harmony. The tension between us thickened, becoming more profound and weighty. I tightened my jaw, striving to suppress any sound that could reveal my true feelings. "Keep going," he growled, his grip on control faltering, his gaze locked onto mine, absorbing every movement, every silent response. I sank my nails into his chest, clinging tightly as waves of pleasure surged within me, on the verge of overflowing. His breath caught, his body tightening beneath me. With a final shudder, he exhaled, his hands gripping me firmly as he reached his peak. I followed moments later, my body quaking from the sheer intensity, yet I stifled my cries, maintaining an inscrutable facade as I collapsed against him, body still resonating with sensation. For a fleeting moment, we simply reclined, our breaths deep and labored, skin glistening with warmth and moisture. Gently, I shifted away from him, perching at the edge of the bed. Silence enveloped me. Words were unnecessary, yet beneath the surface, I was aware of the reality. Every moment was a delight to me, and thus he knew as well. I perched on the edge of the bed, wrapping my robe tightly around me, though it offered scant protection against the memories of what had already unfolded. My skin remained alive with sensation, my breath still faltering. His gaze lingered on me, observing, anticipating. "You caught me off guard, Sophia." His voice flowed effortlessly, laced with amusement. "I was surprised to see you having such a good time." A warmth danced within my belly. I chose to overlook it. "It was merely a transaction," I whispered. He let out a soft chuckle. "Of course, if that's the conviction you choose to hold." The silence lingered, an expanse of unspoken words hanging in the air between us. Shame should have washed over me, yet it remained absent, not completely. A fragment of my being had found pleasure in it, more than I was willing to confess. "I present to you yet another proposition." My eyes flickered in his direction. "Could you clarify what you mean?" He reclined against the headboard, his shirt left unbuttoned, his expression a mystery. "This brought you pleasure." "I am aware that you did. There are indeed men willing to part with their hard-earned cash for a woman of your caliber." I tensed. "Surely you just absolutely not." He observed me intently. "You claim to be devoid of choices, yet that need not be the case." This could be transformed into something remarkable, profitable. My breath caught in my throat. "This is unlike anything else." It was merely I paused, for the words eluded me. "What exactly?" His smirk grew more pronounced. "Could I ask for a small favor merely for amusement?" I averted my gaze, thoughts swirling in a tempest within my mind. I ought to have felt revulsion, yet I found myself in disagreement, for he was indeed correct. I had relished the experience. Now, the idea of embarking on that journey once more, of being desired, of wielding power, of crafting something from the void, felt entirely within reach. "It's your choice," he said, rising to his feet as he fastened his shirt. "There's no obligation to agree, yet if you choose to." I'm aware of, he suggested, a path I hadn't considered, one that came with its own price, not of money, but of self. "In your company?" A shiver coursed through my being, not merely one, but two. I took a deep breath. What should have been a simple refusal turned out to be anything but. "What is the cost?" His smirk grew broader. "Surpassing anything you've ever earned in a single evening." I released my breath in a measured manner, feeling the rapid thrum of my heartbeat echoing in my ears. On that fateful night, I stood at a crossroads, faced with a decision that held the power to alter the course of my life forever. I raised my chin and gave a subtle nod. "Very well, Mr. Richardson." Smiled broadly, extending his hand toward his phone. "All right, I'll go ahead and make the call." The following evening, I found myself before the mirror, carefully adjusting my dress as it draped over my hips, form-fitting, daringly cut, just teasing the eye. Mr. Richardson had chosen it himself, accompanied by a pair of heels that elongated my legs in a way I had almost forgotten. I hardly recognized the person staring back at me. My hands quivered ever so slightly as I arranged my hair. What was it that made me feel so anxious? My decision was already set in stone. The point of no return had been reached. "You look perfect," Mr. Richardson murmured from the doorway. His gaze swept across me, deliberate and affirming. "You will be adored." I took a deep breath, releasing it slowly through my nostrils. "Who might they be?" "Companions? Those who are generous." He wore a sly grin. "Bid them good night, Sophia, and you shall find yourself free from the burdens of rent forevermore." A gentle rap upon the door. My breath hitched. They had arrived. Mr. Richardson's smirk grew more pronounced. "It's time to shine, darling." I pivoted toward the door, my heart racing as I extended my hand toward the handle, and then I unveiled it. Two men lingered in the shadows, their eyes deep and inscrutable, their expressions a mystery, and they stood by my side. I guided them into the room, my heart racing, every step heavy with expectation. The sound of my heels whispered against the floor, the atmosphere thick with an unvoiced tension. They trailed behind, an aura of intensity, enveloping me, two pairs of eyes fixated, two men whose focus was entirely on my every move. I had consented to this arrangement. This was my desire. Yet an unsettling sensation coiled within me, a moment of doubt, a glimmer of thrill. The taller figure, with broad shoulders and an air of confidence in his demeanor, was the first to extend his hand toward me. His hand found its place at my waist, steady and intentional, his fingertips grazing softly as if etching every contour into his mind. The other, more slender and keen-eyed, stood silently behind me. His breath, a warm whisper against my shoulder, ignited an unexpected shiver along my spine. "Let us attend to this," the first whispered, his fingers gliding over the strap of my dress, playfully tugging at the fabric as he locked eyes with me. Gradually, the layers peeled away, the fabric cascading down effortlessly. Fingers traced paths, discovering, understanding, cherishing. As the cool air caressed my skin, I leaned in closer, my fingertips gliding over the firm contours hidden beneath their clothing, my touch gauging their reaction. Their gaze remained fixed upon me, observing, anticipating. A languid breath escaped my lips. Not a moment of doubt lingered. I aimed to provide them precisely what they had been anticipating. I advanced with deliberate purpose, my fingers deftly navigating the fastenings of their belts, unfastening each one slowly, sensing the tautness that lay hidden within the layers separating us. Breaths grew deeper, muscles undulating beneath my fingertips, warmth emanating from the contact. A soft sound emerged from the first man, a rich note of gratitude as he gently tilted my chin upward, locking his gaze with mine, revealing an expression that was difficult to decipher. In that moment, he whispered, his voice velvety, tinged with an undercurrent of something more sinister. A familiar heat coiled within me, a sensation that was both thrilling and perilous. In the intensity of their gaze, knees bent, movements intentional, I descended, fingers still clasped around them both, warmth enveloping my skin. One lingered close to my lips, a wordless beckoning, poised for my choice. I leaned in, embracing him, savoring the warmth, outlining his form with intentional precision. Above me, he drew in a breath, his fingers threading through my hair, steering me with the gentlest caress. The second man lingered in my thoughts, my other hand lavished him with equal care, playfully coaxing each response from him. His breath caught in his throat, fingers gliding along the contour of my jaw as he examined me, lost in the intensity of each fleeting second. Their shared presence, the subtle sounds they produced, the tension coiling in the air around us, ignited a gradual, profound warmth that unfurled within my core. "That's it," one of them whispered, his voice laden, rich with contentment. Just like that, the words ignited a fresh surge within me, allowing me to proceed at my own rhythm, inviting me to delve deeper, to become enveloped in their essence. Then, one of them leaned back a fraction, clearing his throat as if to reclaim his concentration. "Come here," he said, his voice a low, steady murmur. "The journey has only just begun." I sank into the mattress, my breath irregular, my body vibrating with expectation. The taller figure settled between my legs, his fingertips tracing languid, intentional circles along my inner thighs, teasing and amplifying the tension in the air. The other shifted closer, his hand gently grasping my chin, tilting my face toward him, his gaze capturing mine with a profound intensity. "Let us discover the depths of your sweetness." The initial whisper escaped his lips, rich and resonant, tinged with a playful mirth. He descended slowly, his breath a warm caress against my skin, and as the first spark of sensation ignited, a shiver coursed through me, a sharp gasp lodged in my throat as his lips roamed over me, his touch slow, patient, and deliberate. My fingers curled against the sheets, clutching them tightly as each movement sent a fresh wave of sensation coursing through me. The second man drew closer, his mouth grazing mine before the kiss intensified, our lips melting together. I embraced him, allowing his warmth to envelop me, silencing the sounds that emerged from my throat as pleasure surged between us. They moved in flawless harmony, one captivating me with his lips while the other pulled me further into the embrace, his fingers weaving through my hair, holding me near. "She's incredible," one of them murmured, his voice tinged with admiration. I ought to have been anxious. I ought to have paused, yet I was not. My desire surged, and they recognized it. They maneuvered me with grace, directing my movements, adjusting my stances, as though they possessed an innate understanding of my desires. At that moment, I found myself on all fours, my body quivering, still alive with the electric sensation of their touch. The second man, the observer, the one who had lingered in the shadows, biding his time with unwavering patience, stepped behind me, his hands firm on my waist, anchoring me in the moment. "Are you prepared for what comes next?" he inquired, his tone subdued yet understanding. Before I could even gather my thoughts, he advanced, a deliberate, steady force that unleashed a profound, persistent warmth coursing through my being, my breath caught in my throat, fingers gripping the sheets as my body acclimated to his presence. He let out a soft groan, his hold on me firm, his movements measured and intentional, as if relishing each second. The initial figure stepped closer, his fingertips brushing against my jawline, gently urging my eyes to rise. "Allow me to sense your presence," he whispered. I opened my lips, inviting him, and feeling the warmth of his body pressed against me, the steady cadence of his breath intertwining with my own. In that moment, he whispered softly, his thumb gliding over my cheek, his fingers weaving through my hair. They flowed as one, each directing my path, their cadence intertwining, one anchoring my form while the other held my gaze firmly on him. A soft moan slipped from my lips, the sound causing the man before me to draw in a sharp breath, his fingers curling against my skin. Behind me, the second man shifted, his movements becoming fluid, eliciting another gasp from me as warmth pulled deep within my core. "Isn't this something you truly adore?" one of them whispered, his tone playful, filled with understanding. I let out a soft whimper, my body revealing its secrets, the truth manifesting in each movement, each sound. I truly did. Every moment was a delight. They were not yet done. They repositioned me, elevating and adjusting my form with an effortless grace, directing me precisely to the place they desired. At that moment, I found myself positioned above the first man, his hands gripping my hips with a steady assurance, anchoring me in place. Our eyes locked, and a subtle hint of satisfaction danced upon his lips. "Let me see how much you desire this," he murmured, his grip tightening just enough to steady me. A languid breath slipped from my lips as I stood at the edge of decision, torn between what I needed and what I feared it would cost me. Along my spine, his head reclined against the pillows, a soft groan escaping his lips as I pressed closer to him, yet lingering behind me. The second man was far from finished. I sensed his presence first through a gentle touch, a teasing caress, his fingers tracing the delicate curve of my back, poised in anticipation of my response. "Sophia," a quick inhale escaped my lips, a wave of anticipation coiling in my belly, where a spark of doubt collided with an even stronger yearning. He inclined closer, his breath warm and whispering against my ear. "Take your time," he murmured. "I'll guide you through it." I released my breath, feeling my body tighten, shifting in slow, deliberate acceptance as he advanced. The air crackled with an electric tension, time elongating as our bodies moved in harmonious sync. "That's it," one of them sighed. Just like that, uncertainty clouded my mind as I struggled to identify the voice that echoed around me. I was engulfed in the moment, swept away by the rhythm of our movements, the warmth of their touch, the gentle caress of their breath. and the synchronicity of our bodies dancing in unison. They moved in harmony, one anchoring my hips, the other drawing nearer, their actions deliberate, measured. The tension escalated gradually, coursing through my being in ripples, my breath quickening as the feeling wound itself ever more tightly. "You're incredible," one of them murmured, his voice laced with reverence, imbued with a raw intensity. "Behold her," the other murmured, his fingers gliding along my spine, sending a shiver through me. Utterly entranced by the sensation, I found myself unable to restrain any longer. The tension within me wound tightly, reaching a crescendo that unraveled my very essence, warmth surging through my body in undulating waves. Then came a sharp inhale from below, his fingers digging into my skin, his body taut as his rhythm stumbled. A soft groan emanated from behind me, his hand steadying my form before he released, trailing closely behind. The moment elongated, suspended in a breathless infinity before dissolving into a gentle warmth. The room embraced a profound stillness, with the sole sound being the gentle ebb and flow of our breath. Ultimately, I found myself surprised by the enjoyment it brought me. I never anticipated a desire for more, yet now my mind is consumed by it. So I ask you, was I mistaken, or was this precisely what I required? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you appreciate stories of moral dilemmas and emotional depth, don't forget to subscribe. Be sure to show your appreciation and follow for future narratives. Until we meet again.